Hey everybody, Eric Grenier here with Philippe J. Fournier for this week's episode of The Numbers. Again, we've been off the air for 2 weeks, and we were just saying how we deeply, deeply missed each other. But Philippe, how are you doing? I know tomorrow is a big day, and you've been very busy.
Oh my God. I mean, the Quebec election will launch tomorrow, Thursday. But it's been ongoing since August started. And Quebecers really love their politics. And I think also a few things happened in the last few days, Eric, that may have caught Canadians' attention and may also have altered the landscape. I mean, we thought August often is very quiet, and that's why also we took breaks in August. And turns out that wasn't that quiet this year.
Nope. There was, so as you mentioned, we got the Quebec election tomorrow. We got by-elections coming on Monday. We're going to talk about that. We'll do our usual over-unders, as we often do. But I guess we got to start with the big orange news from the south of the border and what impact it's going to have here. So by the time you're listening to this, I'm sure you've heard everybody break down everything that happened in the trade negotiations with the United States already. So I'm not going to review that, if you don't mind. But I think that what we can talk about and we can delve into here is what impact it's going to have on public opinion and also what impact it has already had on public opinion. We haven't had a lot of polls as we're discussing about this just yet. Now, the negotiations, the Canadians walked out, I think it was on Friday or Friday night or something.
Friday night, 11:30 p.m., yeah.
So that's not a lot of time for pollsters to get into the field. But the Angus Reid Institute did get in the field on the weekend, and they showed pretty strongly what I think that we would have already guessed, but that Canadians are a bit in a fighting mood, pretty fed up with the United States and Donald Trump. And I think very clearly the decision that Mark Carney made is the one that Canadians were maybe hoping he would make.
Well, here's the thing. Just before we get into that Angus Reid poll, and I think it was a big one, and we'll delve into the numbers, but there was a Léger poll just prior to the talks breaking down between Canada and the United States that really showed that Canadian voters, generally, and from coast to coast, were pretty sick of concessions that the Canadian government was ready to make for the U.S. And those numbers suggested to me that had the Canadian negotiators bow down or kneel down or whatever the expression you want to use, but decided to flinch and let the U.S. walk all over them, it would have not been good for anybody, including themselves politically. A lot of Canadians were ready to go with the hard line against the U.S. Now, the talks broke down, and as you said, the Angus Reid Institute polled on this, and we see a vast majority of respondents backing Mark Carney's decision to pull out of the negotiations. Obviously, we do not know all the details, nor will we, because usually those negotiations, there's a lot of verbal agreements and arguments. But there was no other choice for Carney, considering the numbers and the public opinion. There was no other choice for him to walk out of this awful, awful deal that the U.S. wanted to basically colonize Canada. What's your take on the numbers, Eric?
Yeah, it's more of a puzzle why they were even considering signing and finalizing a deal, because Canadians have very low trust in Donald Trump. They have no expectation that any deal that would be signed would be honored or wouldn't be broken. And apparently that was one of the final sticking points. Incredible. That the Canadians couldn't get an assurance that, a day after signing the agreement, we wouldn't be slapped with new tariffs. So when you see the numbers from the Angus Reid Institute, we'll go through some of the big ones, it shows how, in a way, Mark Carney has gotten himself back in line with where public opinion was. Yes. If he had signed a deal, I think he would have been out of step. Oh, yeah. Even if he was able to sell that it was a better deal than having no deal. But this is the biggest number, and to me, it's an incredible number. You have 76% of respondents to the Angus Reid poll saying that it was the right thing for Canada to end those negotiations. And they said it was 76%. It was the right thing. Canada needed to stand its ground rather than accept a bad deal. So 76% approval of what a prime minister is doing, when you take into account the people who support other parties, other leaders, is a huge number. And the fact that only 13% So it wasn't just the remaining 24%. It was just 13% who said it was the wrong thing, that Canada should have made the compromises necessary to reach a deal. That is for a political position. Like, I mean, if you ask about, I don't know, maybe some social issues or questions about culture, things like that, maybe you can get some big numbers. For a political decision to be 76-13.
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, it's a no-brainer. This was a slam dunk, at least in the first few days. We don't know how it's going to play out, but that is just a remarkable number that is more than I think I would have expected it to be.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's as unanimous as you can find. And the 13%, it lines up basically. And I'm not going to want to draw a straight line here, but we had polling on impressions of the U.S. president by Canadians. And it was always, the favorable impressions was always in that range between 10 and 15%. And this is not surprising. And so, yeah, the Maple MAGA, if you want to call him that. I know there are many names that these people...
I hate that term.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I hate that term.
I mean,
it's weird. Maple sounds delicious. It's not, anyway.
I know. That's right. Well, the Trump lovers in Canada, yeah, there's about 12% of them. I would believe that number. But from everything that's gone out, even in the New York Times, the details that came out of the deal, again, we would have been a colony of the U.S. And so, Mark, I mean, yeah, you said, Mark, you're surprised that the Canadians stayed at the table for so long. I guess you always wonder if you negotiate in good faith that at some point your partner or your wannabe partner in front of you will come around. And there's a point that you realize that, you know what, this is not happening. So at least we can say that we showed good faith. I mean, the negotiators can say that. And now we enter into a Quebec election. We enter into a fall where there is an Alberta referendum where we saw the polls, Eric. We see that those who admire President Trump in Alberta, yeah, they tend to want to separate from Canada. I'm not saying it's everybody, but those numbers pretty much align. And so it's going to be rocky. And those tariffs that will hurt in Quebec, there's a lot of industries, the aluminum, aerospace, a lot of farmers, dairy farmers. So I know it's from coast to coast, but entering a Quebec election, it throws a lot of uncertainty out there. And it looks like the early numbers should be very favorable for the Prime Minister. And it's going to be a rough time to be in the opposition this fall if what we expect to happen happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I mean, you look at the poll, it did have a majority of conservative voters, 53-30, saying that this was the right move. You can see that the majority of Canadians say in the Sanger Street poll that they didn't feel that Canadians had a lot of control over this to begin with. 59% said that we had little or no control over the outcome of these negotiations, which is
incredible,
an incredible thing to be saying when you're two countries having a negotiation, that you have a majority saying that, we were just going to have to take whatever they offered, and if we didn't want it, we'd walk away. Those were the two options. So attacking Carney on it, I think, is going to be pretty fraught. We've seen very different messages from a series of different conservatives, MPs, from Jamil Javani, from Pierre Poilievre to some of the backbenchers. There's not a lot of consistency on the message. It seems like the leadership is trying to have a message that's much more about, more transparency. What are you going to do to protect the people who are going to be hit by this? But you also see some that are,
which is fair.
But you also see some that are blaming Carney. I saw one from one MP that was juxtapositioning this failing deal with trying to get deals with China. But we've seen polls where China is now seen better than the United States is among Canadians. So it's incredible. There's not really many options, I don't think, for the opposition here. And so far, we're not seeing much of an indication that there's going to be opposition to the dollar-for-dollar tariffs. We already know the people in polls we've seen for the last year would like to go far harder against the United States than the federal government could reasonably do. You see support for getting rid of the ambassador. We saw that in the Leger poll, that there was support for that. Like things that a government couldn't do without really kind of escalating things. But Carney is very much back into the elbows up kind of role, which he kind of, he's a little flimsy on it a bit over the last year. But I think that's where Canadians are. And so, if we see polls in the next week or two, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big jump. We've already heard an indication from David Coletto, who's in the field with Abacus. His partial sample has an increase in approval rating for the government. I'm kind of expecting that we'll see some stronger numbers for Carney and the Liberals in the wake of this.
I mean, this is basically the Davos speech put into practice. And we were wondering after the Davos speech, well, I mean, not just the speech, but the fallout of it had an effect on the psyche of many voters. And they really appreciated that, okay, we have maybe a prime minister that will stand up for us and our industries and our jobs and the workers. And then over the next 6 to 7 months, it felt like, okay, we're going to bend on this and we're going to bend on that. And this, I think, resets everything. Now, we know we won't last forever, but I see now in La Presse saying that Monsieur Carney will talk to the European Parliament in September, trying to make the case that Europe and Canada has to build closer ties. And I cannot see this as a bad move politically. If the U.S. if they don't want to deal with us, if they keep denigrating Canada, like, why the hell wouldn't we sell our products to other markets, including Europe? And Europe is as a whole. I mean, there are no saying Europe is very different. It's 27 countries and all, but as a general rule, they're not crazy about Mr. Trump either. So, so this is a good move, and I wonder if we will see a bump in the Liberal support or just Mr. Carney's. I kind of bet that it's going to be mostly Mr. Carney. But for the next few months, it's going to be a rocky ride. I mean, we have to touch at some point on the Alberta referendum. No, and now it's far down the line. It's still 2 months from now. So everything that happens last week could be, old news very soon. But it has to have an impact. Again, we go back to that Angus Street poll. Do you think it was right, the wrong thing or right thing for Carney to refuse the terms and then the negotiations? In Alberta, it was 67% right thing, 16% wrong thing. So, and also in Saskatchewan, it's 65-19. These are not close. It was basically a consensus from coast to coast.
There was another poll from the Angus Street Institute. I'm not sure if it was partial. They just add another day or something, but they asked some more questions. And one of the questions was, should your province take a Team Canada approach or a province first approach? I thought that was really interesting. Across the country, it was 69% said Team Canada, 22% said province first. In Alberta, it was 62-32. 32 was Saskatchewan was a little bit higher, but the sample was smaller, so But in Alberta, it was 62-32. So again, that is not that different from some of the referendum polling we've seen. In Quebec, where there's an election being called tomorrow, where one of the parties wants to have a referendum on independence once Donald Trump goes away. We'll talk about that later. It was 72% for a Team Canada approach, 18% for a province first.
Incredible, huh?
That's an incredible thing. We've seen that Christine Fréchette has been very happy to be next to Mark Carney, to try to get a little bit of the Mark Carney dust, blow off on her. But it is going to be very hard, I think, for the Parti Québécois to criticize Carney. We've seen them already trying to throw some doubt into whether the French language rules in the negotiations were really a sticking point or not. But again, this seems like such a losing proposition for opposition parties and for provincial premiers and party leaders that are trying to take on the government on this. On that question, though, one of the things I found absolutely stunning, okay? Among Liberals, 91% said they want the province to take a Team Canada approach. 5% said province first. Okay, 91-5. Among Conservatives, it was 48 for a Team Canada and 43 for province first.
I know,
Among
right?
Bloc voters, it was 69 for Team Canada, 18 province first. You have Bloc voters who are more likely to say that we should take a Team Canada approach than Conservative voters in the country. It kind of shows the dilemma Pierre Poilievre has in that he has to appeal to kind of both sets of his voter base. But this is a stark divide that it's one thing to see a divide between Quebec and Alberta, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But between Bloc voters and Conservative voters?
I saw those tables yesterday or this morning, and I was not sure of the wording. How is that possible? Why would Conservative voters want to have a province first approach? And I guess, is it because everything Carney touches we don't like? Or is it like the partisan divide is that strong? I mean, I'm not sure. But the thing is, if we go province by province, well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. So even the leader of the Parti Québécois, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, while you and I were away, announced that, there will be no referendum if we win if the PQ wins the election, while Trump is in power. Now, it brings a whole new set of problems, but at least it says clear, like, okay, we cannot do this right now. It's too complicated. The geopolitics of it all is not favorable. This is stunning. We've had many indications over the years. We know that the Conservative Party of Canada is made of multiple factions, and many of these factions don't always get along, but they know they have to stick together because otherwise there's no way they can win. There has to be a limit at some point. You can't stretch that fabric until it snaps, right? I don't know what else to say about this except that if you look at the reaction of Pierre Poilievre and other conservatives, and maybe you go, okay, that's particular, look at these numbers and you understand why they have to walk a fine line, because the party is divided.
We've had a couple federal polls out the last week, but they're all kind of before this.
Yeah, they're already old. So. They're already old.
Yeah, they're already out of date. But it does give us a kind of a starting point, right? So the Liaison had 43 for the Liberals, 32 for the Conservatives, 13 for the NDP. Nanos, which is, of course, the 4-week rolling poll, so it didn't even, I think it included maybe an hour out of
not even. It ended Friday. And so.
Could have been before. I can't remember what time the news broke. But anyway, and they had 44 for the Liberals, 30 Conservative, 13 NDP. So roughly the same. You're looking at 43 to 44 for the Liberals, 30 to 32 for the Conservatives, and 13 for the NDP. If the starting point at this point for the Conservatives is 30 to 32, and for the Liberals is 43 to 44, and we've seen some polls that had them higher than that, could the next set of polls be plus 15, plus 20 for the Liberals? Could we be back to those kinds of numbers with the Conservatives back under 30, as we talked about in the last episode?
Yeah, the under 30 polls for the Conservatives appear to be the extremes. Will they become the norm soon? It's possible. Although, again, I'm not sure how much it will affect party support, because there's a limit at some point. The Conservatives are not that unpopular. They are a third of voters in Canada are staunchly Conservatives. That's the main rule. I mean, that's my prior since 2006, the last 20 years. I doubt it will go that low, but I mean, perhaps we will see a rekindling of Mr. Carney, especially with NDP and Bloc voters, like we saw in the election last year. That's possible. But the next few polls will be very interesting. And federal polls, of course. I mean, we had the Léger as well, 10 days ago. It's going to be interesting to see the follow-up on that. And I know we'll get to Quebec at some point, but we had a poll done by Léger that was fielded over the weekend that saw movement towards the Premier and away from the other parties. And Madame Fréchette, the Quebec Premier, I mean, it was pretty much a consensus across the board in the media and many people online that she had a pretty good weekend. Not a perfect weekend, but a pretty good weekend. She seemed to be the steady hand on the wheel, and perhaps she is trying to emulate what Carney did last year, to a much lesser extent, of course. And that could just completely change the campaign in Quebec. If it becomes about the Trump tariffs and who can lead Quebec through that storm. It was supposed to be an election about healthcare and the deficit and maybe holding a referendum, and suddenly the issues may have completely changed.
Yeah, there and elsewhere. Right now, we just talked about how this could really kind of put Pierre Poilievre in a corner, because it's going to be very hard for him to find a message that's going to resonate when you're having this rally around the flag effect. And if that comes with some bad polling numbers, some by-elections, we'll talk about that, there could be some repercussions on his own leadership. So we will have to keep an eye on that. Before we get to the by-elections, since we're talking about the impact and why we're suggesting that you could see a bump for the Liberals, a drop for the Conservatives, we did get a poll out of Ontario. And if there's one person who's been making himself clippable over the last few days, it has been Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who has called Donald Trump a loser several occasions. And
a lot of real estate. A lot
There was
of
a
real
line that you
estate.
liked quite a bit. If you would like to repeat it.
Absolutely. I know if, as a francophone, for me the line "kiss my ass" is extremely funny. Because we don't have it. We don't say embrasser mon cul in French. We don't have that. But I remember when I was learning English years ago, like kiss my ass. I was like, oh, that's such a good line. And he said it. Oh my God. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, like you listen to Doug Ford just riff on this, and other parties go like, damn, why we wish we had like a candidate that could do that, right? He's the best when he's trying to be Team Canada. And Mr. Ford, in the days prior to this, had been pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And so, Madame Fréchette as well in Quebec, many of the premiers, I think, did not like what was going on and were not ready to play ball, including Mr. Ford, who has an auto industry to save in Ontario. And now it feels like, now that Carney has pulled out, they may have like just a sigh of relief and said, you know what, now we can speak freely, and he sure has. So
Yeah. Well, like I mean, like Wab Canoe last week he was expressing his disagreement with the kind of way things were going, and I think he was actually tapping into where a lot of Canadians were, that they weren't all that keen about this, and they not wanting to get alcohol off the shelves. Like Liaison, the poll had support for keeping U.S. Alcohol off the shelves at the LCBO. Huge support for that. But anyway, so this Liaison poll, which came out just a couple hours before we were recording, 39% for the PCs, 35% for the Liberals, 20% for the NDP. The PCs were up 6 points, and more to the point, Ford's approval was up 12 points to 36%. His disapproval was down 11. So that's just over the last month or so that his approval has gone up. So a 12-point approval rating bump after the kind of week that he's had. That's why we kind of look at these numbers, and you saw what happened with Fréchette. Are we going to see the same thing with Carney? But Ford has had many lives. He's a cat of nine lives in a way. There's been lots of times in his polling where he's been on track for a big defeat. Once again, he might be kind of saved by events, saved by tapping into people's frustrations or mood or kind of way of speaking, even if they might not like the way that he's running the healthcare system or education or the economy. When we see polling that he doesn't do quite well on that, but get him in front of a mic and riffing off Donald Trump, and you get a 12-point bump in his approval rating.
And you know where else I'm looking forward to see the next polls, Eric? British Columbia. Because we know the NDP government there had been on a slippery slope. The approval rating were down. The voting intentions had tightened up. Now we had one poll from Research Code that showed the NDP back up. But Monsieur Eby also has been quite outspoken, and he has in front of him the leader of the BC Conservatives, who has had populist tendencies, to be fair,
and has lost 4 MLAs in the last week or so.
It's
not going well there for them.
So maybe I won't say he has 9 lives, but this may be a lifeline for Monsieur Eby. But we'll wait until we see the new polls in BC.
Okay, so we got the by-elections coming on Monday.
That's right.
So we got him in Chicoutimi, Le Fjord, we got him Beaches, East York, we got North Vancouver, Capilano. I'm not sure what to think about these by-elections now. There wasn't really expecting to be lots of surprises in them. I think there was a pretty big expectation that the Liberals in the Bloc would probably be vying for Chicoutimi Le Fjord, that the Conservatives might have fallen out of contention. But with the stuff happening over the last week, you got to think at this stage, if the Liberals don't win all 3, is that a bad night for them?
I mean, do they expect to win? I mean, again, the equation of happiness. I've said this many times, right? Reality minus expectations. Do the Liberals expect to win Chicoutimi Le Fjord? Maybe now. But earlier this summer, I was like, no, they're not going to win Chicoutimi Le Fjord. I think I said this on this podcast. The Bloc should be considered
I
the
said
favorite.
They were the favorites. You said the Bloc.
Yeah, you did, but you were wrong. But now, maybe in hindsight, maybe you
Don't you understand how polling works? You look into the future, and this is how we get rewarded for capturing trends before they occur.
So this is kind of again, they don't wish for this, but this is kind of a gift for the Liberals, especially Chicoutimi. Again, I said the aluminum sector in the whole Saguenay region is a big one. You have to think that the Liberals should get a boost from this. Now, of course, advance voting started on Friday. Friday night, 11 p.m., the news broke. So will that have an effect? I'm not sure. But we'll have to see. But okay, so you want to do over-unders here.
Well, it's our way. So
It's our way because it's fun. So, okay, let's start with Chicoutimi Fjord because I think it's the most interesting. Although the margins in the other will be interesting. But let's start with Chicoutimi Fjord. So the result in the April 2025 general election, the Conservatives had 34%, Monsieur Martel, and both the Bloc and the Liberals had 31% apiece. It was one of the closest riding in the country. And we kind of don't expect the Conservatives to hold on to this. The numbers that we have province-wide, but also local numbers that we've had, show that, the Conservatives have fallen off a cliff. But how much of a cliff? So where do you want to start here, Eric?
Well, why don't we start with the Conservative number? I have one in mind. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, what if I put the line for the Conservatives in Chicoutimi Fjord at 20%?
Walk me through it. Why 20%? Why is that your line? Is there a feeling there? Is there a gut? Is there?
Well, like you said, there has been a couple of riding polls that have been published, and riding polls are riding polls. You take them with a grain of salt, but there does seem to be some consensus that the Conservatives might be under 20. It's a psychological threshold, which I think is important. The party has been under 20 in poll after poll in Quebec. Yeah. Now they got, what did they get?
24 in the election. Yeah.
Okay. So, they've dropped 5 points or so on average, which would drop them into 29. But without Martel, who is well known in the riding, I think that drops them even lower. And also events. Just in the wake of what's been happening too, I think that if you're a voter in that riding, you're probably seeing the races between the Liberals and the Bloc. So that could push the Conservatives even further. If you think 20 is too low, you're free to choose the over.
Okay, my friend, I want to discuss that line because if you put that line at 20, I am slamming the under. Slamming the under. In Terrebonne, my line. I thought you were going to go with this. If you had asked me to choose that line, in Terrebonne, the Conservatives lost 15 points. If the Conservatives lose 15 points in this one, that would mean 19. And there's a context here. Like in Terrebonne, the incumbent was not a factor. Here it is. So I'm slamming the under if that's your line. Do you go over 20?
Oh, geez. Okay, well then I would also go under. So now you have to choose. Do I have to choose a new one, or do you have to?
No, I'll push. Okay, 18.
I'll say that they get 19. So
okay,
I'll choose the over on 18. You'll choose the under,
and I'll take the under. Take the under.
If we're expecting that Liberals and the Bloc are going to be really close, should we choose the same over under for them? Or should we just choose the winner?
I guess we could. Yeah. Well, the winner, but also by. I mean, the thing is, I think we both think the Liberals are going to win now. Yeah. Like, I've come to your side.
Okay, well then let's do the Liberal number.
Yeah.
At 38.
Do you remember Terrebonne? I think we both, I took the over for both parties and I was right. So, I mean, is it possible that the Liberals and the Bloc both have 45? Or something. I mean, it would be unlikely, but we saw
this kind of riding. It's harder to see.
Yeah,
I mean, because in Chicoutimi and the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, the Conservatives have always done okay, right? Yes. Like Jean-Pierre Blackburn won in 2006. They used to win in Robertval and Lac-Saint-Jean. So there is a base there. So I don't think they're going to drop to 3. Like in Terrebonne, there was no base. Yeah. So I think that they got to have at least 50. So that pushes, and the NDP and the other parties have to get at least 3. So that leaves the amount of vote left at 82, let's say. Okay. So if we put the over under at 40 for the Liberals.
I was going to suggest a combined line for the Bloc and the Liberals. Well, maybe we'll do that after. So 40 for the Liberals, that would be a jump of 9 points. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. If I think the Conservatives drop 15, do the Liberals pick 9 out of 15, so 60% of that? That's pushing it. Yeah, I'll take the over.
So you take the over on 40.
Yeah.
I think it's a good line, so I'll choose the under. I think 39.7 or something, and the Bloc at 38.7, something like that. Do we need to do another line for the Bloc?
Bloc at 40. What do you say?
There, I'll take under. I don't think they're getting over 40.
I feel like... Okay, the NDP is going to get crumbs.
Yes, they will get like 2, probably.
Or if that, right? If that. Like, I'm thinking maybe both get over 40. So I'll take the over.
Okay, well, I'll take the under on it. I think it'll be... Did I choose the under on both? I did.
Yes, you did.
Right.
Yes, you did. Oh,
So
we go
I'm
edgy
gunning
there.
for the other parties. Come on,
That's right.
everybody, combine for...
Let's go other. Let's go Greens. Yeah.
Yeah, combine for at least 20% of the vote altogether. Okay, I think it's kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting us to both be as pessimistic about the Conservative chances in this riding. We're just completely writing it off. And I just wonder if voters are going to do the same thing, which could really see their vote tank. The way they... how they did in Talbot is just a remarkable kind of...
From
a
18,
major party getting 3% of the vote.
Yeah. From 18.
Yeah.
18 to 3. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right, which one do you want to do next? Beaches?
This was Beaches East York. Okay, so the result in that election was a really good riding for the Liberals. 68% for the Liberals, 24% for the Conservatives, and 7% for the NDP. So it would be, I mean, the Liberals have no business even be worried about this.
No.
Even if the margin is a bit tighter, I would even be surprised. The NDP at 7 kind of... I mean, okay, so the NDP basically matched their national number in that riding.
Yeah.
So if that happens, the NDP could be at 12, maybe 13. I kind of expect the NDP to do a little bit better. But again, what happened last week just threw a wrench in everything. All my priors are gone. So I will put the line for the Liberals at 70.
Oh.
They had 68. That's plausible. It's high, though.
It is high. It reminds me of the other ridings in Toronto in the last by-elections. They didn't really get a huge bump in them.
Yeah, they did well, but not, yeah.
Yeah, so I would choose the under on 70.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
me
be surprised if they drop a couple of points.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's change the line. What do you say?
66. 65.
65?
Yeah.
Okay, 65, I'll take the over. 65. I think they basically at least match their number. NDP does a little bit better.
I'll take the mild under. A mild under for... I think
tap,
that there might have
gentle
been...
Tap.
Yeah, there might have been a Nate Erskine-Smith bump. I know that he is polarizing online, but I do think that a lot of progressives think that he is a progressive like them. So I can imagine that for a lot of New Democrats, it was easy to vote for him. And maybe without him, that they actually do drop a bit. Okay. Why don't we then jump over to the NDP? I think, to me, I'm kind of directed by what happened at University of Rosedale, where they had a good jump. They moved back into their traditional second spot, because this is a riding where the NDP usually finishes second. So I think they do better than the average. So if I put the line at 15 for the NDP in Beaches East York.
Okay. In a general election, I'd be with you. Do you really want to bet on the NDP outperforming the numbers during a by-elections? Have we not learned? Have we not learned
from University of Rosedale?
Yeah, that's true though. 15. That's a good line. Guess I'll take the under, but not by much, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
well, then I'll take the over. I think that they could do okay. I think it's an easy vote as well. I think for people...
That's true.
A lot of Liberals could stay home because they think they're going to take it, so it doesn't really matter. Conservatives at 24 in the last election. I think their vote is going to tank like... it's going to tank like a Sherman. So... What if I put it at 12? Half the vote.
Oh my God. Okay, that's too far for me. I take the over. That's too far for me.
All right, then. All right, I'll do the same one. 15 for the NDP, for the Conservatives.
So the numbers in Ontario for the Conservatives, from poll to poll, it varies a lot. They have gone down because they had 44% of the vote in Ontario last year. The average right now is closer to 35%. But conservative enthusiasm may have taken a hit. 15. Oh my God. Yeah, I'll take the under. I'll take under 15.
Okay, then I have to jump. What if I brought it down to 13? It's not much higher than 12. You were upset about 12.
That's a lot. Okay, so if they lose 15 points in Chicoutimi and they half their vote in Beaches East York, and we'll get to Capilano soon, does that change anything for the leadership of the Conservatives? Is there more alarm bells, or they can't hear the bells anymore? Because, man, okay, I'll take the over. All right,
I'll take the under. I feel like they're going to have a rough night.
Wow.
Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but they did really poorly in the last set of by-elections, and I feel like the climate is worse for them than it was then. So, all right, so that brings us now to North Vancouver, Capilano. We'll do the Liberals and Conservatives first, and then I want to do something different for the NDP. Why don't we start there, actually? So the NDP got 4% last election.
Yeah.
This is not a good seat for them. This has never been a good seat for them. I was looking at it recently. They haven't even finished second. But the Greens seem to be kind of bullish on their candidate. I was quoted in a Canadian press story a couple of weeks ago where apparently Elizabeth May was saying that they have a shot to win it. And when the reporter asked me, do they have a shot to win it? All I could do was say no, which is not usually my level of hedging. But there does seem to be a bit more energy there. So my over-under is NDP versus Green. Who's over, who's under?
The Greens had 1.7% of the vote. Miss May, when they had a shot winning,
that's what she said. But they used to do okay in this riding. If you look back a couple elections ago, it's not far from West Vancouver, where they have a seat provincially. And like I said, there was a riding poll that was out that suggested it could be relatively close between the two parties.
Yeah.
So
the Greens overperforming in polls. 2015 North Vancouver, the Greens had 8%. Okay, that's decent. 2011, what did they get? They had 5%. In 2008, 2008 was the first election of Elizabeth May, right? They had 11%. Yeah. Oh God, do the Greens finish ahead of the NDP? Is basically what you're asking?
Yeah.
Man, that would look bad on Mr. Lewis's resume. This is,
he ran in the adjacent riding last time.
No, the NDP finishes ahead of the Greens.
All right. Well, as my way of kind of making it up to Miss May and my dismissive attitude to her party in the last, I will choose the Greens in the over/under in North Vancouver Capilano, just to see.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Conservatives at 34 last time.
Yeah.
This was in both of our projections back when the Conservatives were leading in the polls. This was a seat that was going to go Conservative. So, they should do okay. Or at least the expectation should be that they should be able to maintain at least some support here.
Yeah.
So what if I put it at 28?
I haven't looked at the numbers in BC a little bit.
They've been dropping in BC, and I don't think the news over the last little while has helped them with the provincial
Probably
party.
not, huh? Ah, boy. 28, so they loss of 6 points. So, okay, so you think that they would drop less than in Chicoutimi and Beaches East York, basically. You're saying
I think there's less reason. It's the same Canada's last time. They have a base here of some ability. I think provincially they hold a portion of the seat.
I have 43-34 right now in BC, Liberal Conservative. So, a little movement. 28, I'll take the over. I think the Conservatives will lose, but since I don't really believe in the smaller parties, I think that that share of the vote, around 30%, will hold for the Conservatives.
All right, then what if I put the line at 30?
So you agree with me then? Like you don't believe in the smaller parties.
I'm seeing more like 30, 29, something like that.
The Greens and NDP together at 6%. So if you think they will have 20 among the two, then the Conservatives will go down. I don't buy that at all. So 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll gently tap the over.
Okay, I'll take the under on 30. All right, and we'll finish with the Liberals. 60%. Last time, Braden Cayley is the candidate who is from Vancouver originally, but was in the Carney's PMO he was his deputy chief of staff, I think it was. So he's been. I've seen the local candidate accusing him of being a parachute candidate. Might not want to look into his own leader's recent history, but anyway. Why don't you set the line for the Liberals in North Vancouver, Capilano?
So they had 60% of the vote. We expect the NDP to do a little better. You expect the Greens to do a little better than that. So I'm going to be boring and put my line at 58, just below their score. What do you think of that?
I think this is the kind of riding that is going to react well to the recent news, so I'll take the over.
Damn. Okay, 60. Same score. Like they matched the score of the election. 60. Same reasoning.
Now it gets tough. If I say the Greens are beating the NDP, that means they're both doing okay.
But you think the Conservatives are going to tank? So.
No, yeah. All right, I'll take the over.
And I'll take the under. I think slightly under for this. So it'll be fun to compare. Perhaps we'll be completely wrong, and the Conservatives will hold Chicoutimi Le Fjord, and we were all wrong all along. And the NDP is nowhere to be seen in Beaches East York. That's why it's so much fun. By the way, these are forced predictions. Eric and I are having fun here, looking at numbers. We'll see who was right and wrong, or righter or wronger. So
okay. All right, Quebec election tomorrow. Christine Fréchette is expected to go drop the writ.
Yep.
And we had the poll out this week. So here, these were the numbers in the Léger poll. Had 30% for the Parti Québécois, so no real change there. 23 for the CAQ, so they're up 3 points. The Liberals were down, I think it was 1 point, was it?
Yeah.
To 23. Conservatives were up to 16, it's kind of interesting. And 7 for Quebec Solidaire. Is it a blip or is it a trend?
Okay.
Is the CAC back? Is the CAC back again?
Just back again. Just before you get to that, I want to say something about the Conservatives, Eric, if I may. Most of that rise from the Conservatives were from non-Francophone voters. And so it's a small sample, below 200 respondents. Maybe it's a blip, and we know there's cross-pollination. Could the Eric Duhem Conservatives do better among Anglophones? It's possible, but it's a bit inflated. So let's just be careful there. Maybe there's some progression, but I mean the PCQ, the only numbers for the Conservative that matters is the Quebec City region. The Anglophone doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, back to the CQ.
One tiny little point though.
Yeah.
There is a per vote subsidy in Quebec, so
yeah, it matters for this.
It could matter for that.
That's right. Okay. So the CAQ, I mean, okay, so Léger was supposed to release their big pre-election poll, as they often do. Léger does this in Quebec, where they have like a 3,000 or 4,000 respondents, and then you can look and do regions and Mauricie and Saguenay and stuff like that, which is a really good poll that they do once during the campaign. It was supposed to be this one, but the thing is, when you do an online panel poll and you want to have 5,000 respondents, it takes more time. And so there's a feeling that, I don't know this for sure, but what happened Friday night with Trump and the negotiators completely threw their plans, because they couldn't have a poll of 5,000 people that was half before the deal was broken, fell apart, and half after. So they did a poll, and they didn't release much. In the Léger poll, usually there's best premier, impressions of the leaders, sovereignty. It was just voting intentions and a few questions on recent leader declarations. It was not a detailed poll. So that tells me that Trump completely derailed the Léger plan. That being said, if Madame Fréchette takes 3 points, including many points among Francophones, the Parti Québécois lead among Francophones in that poll was 12 points. It used to be 20 last winter. If it holds at 12, yeah, the PQ will win the election, but suddenly there are a lot of ridings that could be projected to be much closer than we expected. And the CAQ, while not back, the CAQ stands in the way of a PQ majority. It's not the Liberals. The Liberals will do okay. They will not win. They're not competitive. But the CAQ result will change the outcome. That's my take.
Okay. I think this, so You might not have noticed because of how busy you've been, but I launched my own Quebec projection.
I saw. Go see it, people.
Yeah,
Go
right.
see it, people.
And what it has just emphasized to me, because I saw your projections, but I never really went that much into the ridings. There's a lot of seats that if these kinds of numbers hold, the winner's going to have 32, 33%.
Even less. Yeah.
And some even 28, 29. And when you have lots of ridings like that, candidate will matter a bit more. Whether, one polling station was it was raining in a,
Yeah.
it right now it's a mess of an election in that sense, and trying to predict it, because when you have the leading party at 30%, and yes, if you look at the francophones, it's 38, so it's a bit clearer, but all four of the parties are between 30 and 16.
Yeah.
There's going to be tons of really hard races to call, where it's going to be two-way races, three-way races, and four-way races in some of them. Now, the PQ is in a stronger position because they have the more uniform support. They got support in the regions. They got support in the suburbs in Montreal and Quebec City. But they don't need a lot to go badly for this result to be
absolutely
50 seats, to be 45. And especially, I think it was in the Léger poll, had the CAQ leading among the oldest voters.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, okay, if I can pick up on that, Eric, were you done? Because this was the most striking part of that poll, and I think it was overlooked by some media. So the Léger age brackets, it's 18-34, 35-54, and 55 and over, which is pretty standard. Many polling firms have that. Among the 55 or the 54 and under, and that's a lot of people, right? Yeah. That's 18 to 54. The CAQ is battling Québec Solidaire for 5th place. But they're leading among the 55 and older by 8 points. And I can tell you that from other sources that I spoke to, those numbers are verified by what other pollsters are seeing. Like the older voters are flocking back to Madame Fréchette. We know these voters are very faithful. They go to the ballot box, but the CAQ is not competitive with younger voters, and so it creates this dynamic. Like, okay, are these if younger voters don't show up, you could have the CAQ beat their polls by 2 or 3 points, and I'm not even exaggerating here. So imagine a scenario, and you can play around with my simulator. You can play around with Eric's numbers. If the CAQ is not at 23 next week, but at 25, and the PQ is stalled at 30, there's no path to a majority, but even the minority could be weak. You could have the winner of the election with 45 seats. Like, imagine, PQ 45, Liberal 38, CAQ 35 or 30. And then Conservatives 12s and QS whatever is left, right? And then nobody has the balance of power on their own. They all hate each other. There's a lot of animosity, and there's no clear winner. It's possible that we go to bed on October 5th and we go we know technically, legally, Madame Fréchette will still be the premier, but who's going to win the election, we do not know, even if the PQ finishes first. Nobody's going to want to help Plamondon. Nobody was going to help Milliard or Fréchette either. So,
you know what this is setting up to be?
An election in May.
Yeah, well, that too. But on election night, the networks like to call who won the election. And in a minority situation, which has always been something that I've had some discomfort with, and I know I'm not the only one, with a network calling a minority government for a different party than the one that's in power. Now, most of the time, it doesn't matter. In almost every single case, it doesn't matter. When you win the most seats, you tend to form the government. But if you do end up with a scenario on October 5th, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but if we do end up with a scenario on October 5th where you got, as you mentioned, not big seat differences between some of the parties, and where conceivably you could have Fréchette, who is even maybe third in the seats, but has a better chance of maybe cobbling together support because maybe she can get the Conservatives, the Liberals behind her, whatever. But the PQ wins the most seats, and then you have the networks calling a PQ minority government that never actually happens. Yeah. It's just a warning that I hope, if it ends up being close like that, if you're listening to this at CBC, Radcan, CTV, all the other places, if it's a very close seat count, do not call a government. Call a winner for seats. Anyway,
Just called plurality. Just call the plurality.
Yeah.
Did they call a liberal minority in BC 2017? Is that what they did? Because
yes, but see, that would have been accurate because Christy Clark was the outgoing premier, so that was okay to call that. You understand? There's that kind of it's because Christy Clark in 2017 was the premier, and she was going to continue to be the premier either way. So calling a liberal minority government would be accurate because she had this. She formed one, and then it got defeated.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
understand?
see.
It's when it's a different party that takes over.
Oh, it's nerdier than I thought. Okay, I see. So basically, you're saying that so on election night, let's have fun here.
We're getting
off
track.
Party seats. Let's have fun. 40 Liberal, 40 PQ, 40 CAQ. What do the networks call?
Yeah, well, they should call
nothing. They should call nothing.
Call a CAQ minority, I guess.
Wow.
Or they use the British term a hung parliament, which will always
parliament,
make people chuckle.
Laugh. Yes, a little bit.
On this side of the pond. So anyway, this is just to emphasize that while the numbers are pretty clear in where things are now and who would be favored, it won't take much in this campaign to change things. Maybe we can finish on this point because Léger asked about it. Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon made the pledge that if there was a PQ government, they would not hold a referendum until after Donald Trump leaves the White House, which, if he finishes his term, would be in January 2029. Yeah. So at that point, we're talking about in the third year of the mandate for the PQ. It's clear why they need to do this. Support for sovereignty is in the high 20s in the last few polls we've seen. Yep. There's less support for holding a referendum than there is for actually voting yes in one. And Léger found that this is not a huge vote mover.
No,
but it could have the potential to make some impact. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the numbers first.
I saw the numbers. I mean, I should have this in front of me. I'm sorry, I don't.
I have them here. I wrote them down.
You have them. Why don't you tell the numbers to the viewers?
Well, because I remember the general population, 17% of Quebecers said this promise made them more likely to vote for the Parti Québécois.
Yes.
22% said it made them less likely to vote for the PQ, and the rest said it made no difference or they weren't sure. I don't find those things are very useful because if you're never going to vote for the party, the fact that it makes you less likely to vote to the party doesn't matter. And if you're a federalist who says like, well, this makes me less likely to vote for the party, that doesn't make any sense. You're always not going to vote anyway. But so I kind of looked at it in a different way because if you're already saying you weren't going to vote for them and you're voting for another party and you say this makes them less likely, it doesn't really change anything. But the thing that I thought was interesting here is that it only shaved off 5% of PQ voters. But for the other parties, it was around 7 to 12% who said they were more likely to vote for the PQ. And I calculated, I ran the numbers kind of.
Yes, you did, yeah.
If PQ was able to get all of those voters, all of the Liberals, CAQ, Conservative, and QS voters who said they'd be more likely to vote because of this promise, they could get into the mid-30s because they wouldn't lose a lot of their own supporters. So it does potentially open a path to growth. Not a huge amount of growth, but in the current context, getting to 35 would be a massive majority.
I don't know, man.
But I just don't know if it actually takes it off the table.
It doesn't. Also, by the way, for those listening, Monsieur Plamondon's new announcement that he would wait until Trump leaves, we already knew that. In Le Livre Bleu, it's basically the blue book of the PQ, they already had said that the referendum would be in a second half of the mandate. He just wanted to reiterate. And I don't know why he did like trumpets and and horns and stuff and say, I have something to say. Because it was like, yeah, you already said that. I don't know. For me, they just exposed what we saw in the English Free Institute. It's like, oh, Monsieur Plamondon, so you're saying to go through the storm, it's better if we stick together, right? I don't know, man. It was such a strange outing from Monsieur Plamondon. And it's a thing. I don't see it as a vote mover now. Those who want a referendum and want to vote yes, they're already in the PQ. There's not much to be pulled. If the problem with this promise is that he still wants a referendum in a first mandate. It's just later in the mandate. Yeah. So that means that, okay, let's say the PQ does win a majority on October 5th. That means the campaign to debate whether we should have a referendum was it. There's no other election campaign. That's it. So for me, it was like, okay, well, there's no change. it's going to be later in the term. Okay, who cares? It's still going to be in this term.
In all likelihood, it was going to have to be later in the term when the numbers for support were so low, right?
Hey, there are some hardliners that just say, you know what, we were down at 95, we can come back. I know it's a strange strategy right now, but yeah.
It is It is, as you said, though, a reflection of that they sensed this was going to be a problem. This was their way to try to get around it.
Yep.
I don't know how much it'll work. Because, if in the debate one of them says, well, you want to hold a referendum on independence when, Trump is threatening us, and the response is, well, we're only going to do it after Trump's gone. I'm not sure if everybody's on the stage is going to be like, yo, okay, that's
good.
That's fine.
Let's move on.
It's not that long, right? It's 3 years. It's less than 3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But it's interesting that they made this ploy because it was the first time that Saint-Pierre Plamondon has really kind of admitted that he needs to pump the brakes a bit, right?
Yeah, it was.
So we'll see how that unfolds. But
wow.
So anyway, what are you expecting for the campaign? Are we getting lots of polls or?
So okay, well, this is not a secret. Léger will have a weekly poll, either early in the week. I'm not privy. The client is Le Journal de Montréal and Québécois, so I don't know all the details. But they said weekly, and we should have a few Anglo posters going into Quebec with regular numbers. I know Synopsis with La Presse. I'm not sure if they're going to go weekly, but they're going to go regularly. And so I think we'll have plenty of data to dig in. And also posters, this is going to be you want to have eyeballs on your polls. You want to have, a good publicity stunt, like go poll Quebec and try to do a good score. And of course, if you, si tu te casses la face, as we say, if you break, how would you translate that? If you ran into a wall or something,
how would you?
U.S.
I don't know. You'd say if it blew up in your
majority.
face, I guess.
Yeah, if it blows up in your face, yeah, okay. Well, it'll change your rating on 338. That's
But won't be noticed too much in English Canada. So we'll see how that's going to unfold. We're going to do some episodes of Les Chiffres. We're going to try to do one every week. So if you speak French or want to learn French or don't mind my French, you can watch Les Chiffres. We'll probably have one at the end of this week, and then we'll do weekly during the campaign. So lots of fun, lots of stuff with Quebec coming from, certainly from Philippe, a little bit from me. So stay tuned. All right. Number of the week. Do you have a good one, or should I go first?
Mine is very boring because I'm tired, but I can tell you 64 is my number of the week. It's the number of seats for a majority at the new National Assembly with 127 seats. It's going to be hard. The party that has the best path to 64 is the PQ, but I updated my site yesterday. I updated the Quebec projection, and when you look at the path to 64, the toss-ups start at 49. That means that there are 16 toss-ups from 49 to 64 that the PQ all have to win to get to the majority. 12 of them are CAQ seats. 4 of them are Québec Solidaire seats. There's Tachereau, there's Jean Lesage, there's Hochelaga Maisonneuve, and there's Rosemont. So that means that the PQ, not only do they have to win all these toss-ups, but they have to grab them on the left and grab them on not the right, but the center right. It's going to be la grande split, the big split. So good luck for the campaign. Congratulations to those who dare to run, because I don't. So.
Okay, my number of the week is 64.
What? No. Really?
Both of our numbers, one of the best Commodores. Anyway, 64% was from the Angus Street Institute poll. This was the question of what impact the trade dispute would have on Canada. And I thought this was a remarkable number because it showed that Canadians are, despite it all, actually kind of optimistic. So the poll found people were very concerned about what it'll mean for the economy, for jobs, things like that. But 64% said that this will make Canada stronger because it will reduce our dependence on the United States in the long term. 26% said it would make Canada weaker. So the fact that Canadians feel like this will be tough, but at the end of it, we'll be better off because we'll have learned some lessons. One, this is almost entirely Mark Carney's framing of the issue, which means that Canadians have bought into that framing, so that's a good thing for Mark Carney. But it's just interesting that Canadians actually aren't just cowering and fearing what's going to happen. They think that in the end, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that'll be interesting to see. I've noticed that throughout this episode, I've had a very nice aura behind me. The reason is that we're recording this in the afternoon because our schedule is going to be a little bit more up in the air over the next few weeks because of the election.
Yeah.
So we're recording this in the afternoon, so the sun is very bright behind me. So I'm not angelic in that sense. So we are planning to have a live stream of the by-election results.
That's right.
It should start at around 9 o'clock on Monday when the polls close in Beaches
Eastern.
and in Chicoutimi. They're closing at 9:30 Eastern time in North Vancouver, Capilano, so it won't be too late of a night. And also, we probably will want to go to bed because we're going to be pretty busy. But we'll try to do that on YouTube, so you can go check it out on our YouTube channel. And Philippe, I know you've had tomorrow's going to be a heck of a day for you.
Jeez.
So I appreciate that you took some time to speak to little old me. And we'll chat again very soon. And thanks to everybody for listening and watching.
It's always a pleasure, Eric. I was looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the next 8 weeks with the referendum in Alberta, the by-elections, and the Quebec election. For those who are, not only in Quebec, but if you want to see me, I'm going to be on the Quebec election launch show on RDI, so the CBC News World en français. So watch for that. I'll be pointing at maps. It's going to be fun. So.
He's going to be everywhere in Quebec TV for the next few weeks, so you won't miss him. All right. See you next time, everybody.
Merci, Eric. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, tout le monde.